Welcome, everybody, to the two black and white with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest. How are
Guess,
you, Lana
guess
Quest?
which one is which,
It's hard to tell.
isn't it?
No idea. I mean, I think they could probably figure out the Brian Rundle and Lana Quest part. Black and white?
Nah.
No idea.
I'm good. How are you doing? How was your weekend?
My weekend was fine, nice and relaxing, but nothing exciting. How about yours?
Um, I didn't do anything. It rained. Yes, we had rain the weekend. I believe we did.
You know what else we had? Both of us had on the weekend.
Celtics games.
Well, that definitely, but you and I both had, and I'm sure everybody else that's listening had daylight savings. Did that screw you up?
I don't know. I can't tell.
It screws me up. I the first night
night was
trying to
big.
sleep, the
Yeah.
next day waking up, all that stuff. My body's still trying to get used to the time change, but
I was really tired at around 8 o'clock, 8:30. I'm like, why am I so
yep,
tired right now?
yeah,
It was what, really 9 o'clock? No, we sprang forward. So it would have
yes.
been 7. So why was I so tired? I was just tired.
Well, it's now, it's the thing where it's later outside,
Yeah.
which I prefer.
Right.
But it does it for the first couple of days. It kind of screws up your clock, and the only good thing is my pets sleep an extra hour later because they don't understand time change at all. So waking people up to to breakfast and all that
That's
stuff.
true. That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so funny.
So,
That's true.
but outside of the weekend, let's get to some of the things that happened over the last week. Now, of course, the State of the Union address happened on Thursday night. Lana talked about
Sorry, I
it
keep
on a.
looking at. I am so sorry because looking at the dog, and it's like going towards my room, and I don't want. You know what I mean?
If you need to stop the dog, you stop the dog.
Yeah, I was about to go. Don't go in there. Any room, don't go in my room. Sorry.
That's the beauty of this show. We could say whatever we want whenever we want to, and it makes no bit of difference. None.
Right.
Yeah. But it was the State of the Union, and Joe Biden came out fired up, and it was a phenomenal speech. And people might just be thinking, well, you're a liberal or Democrat. You're going to say he was awesome no matter what. Here's a few things that I feel like I am not saying this just as a liberal Democrat. First of all, the right, they were saying, not that it was a great speech,
right,
but they were saying how forceful he was, how jacked up he was, as Sean Hannity called him, Jacked Up Joe, which I'm not really sure why he thinks that is a bad nickname. It sounds kind of like a badass nickname. I'm not sure where, but what did you think of the speech? What did you think when you were, so I assume you watched it live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what were your thoughts as you were watching it?
So there were some key takeaways for me.
Mm-hmm. And I've got some too.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You want to share yours first?
No. I want you to go first.
Okay. So my key takeaways, like, of course, he did great. Fired up. I mean, for Joe, he was, but it was what he said is, it wasn't about his energy. It was just what he said. And a couple of things, but one thing in particular, he said, and this is not verbatim because I'm not going to remember, but he mentioned America's ideals, equity, equality, diversity. He mentioned all of these ideals, and he said that America has not lived up to those ideals, but America has not walked away either.
Right.
And that's so dope because that means he's listening. Yeah. He knows. He's not going to say America's not a racist country. Like, he understands that we've made some strides, But America can't be out here boasting like, oh, we're not racist here. We got everything. We're diverse. He knows that we can't say that. We have not lived up to what we're supposed to be. What is it? What's the beacon of whatever? What is it called? The beacon of what do we call it?
You're not talking about the
Beacon.
shining light on the hill, or
That what we're supposed to be? Like America's just supposed to be like that place?
Yeah.
But we're not living up to it. So that was like really big. And also, I'll let you chime in, but I'll just take over the show. Now, and the next thing is that you're going to say the same thing. It's like the contrast. It was so freaking apparent. If you were a Republican, you got upset with Biden about this speech, you just wanted to be upset.
Correct.
Just because.
Well, they were going to regardless. It didn't matter what he said.
Right. Because he's going, yeah, we're trying to expand tutoring, get children reading by the 3rd grade, give teachers raises, Democrats, yay! Republicans sitting on their hands.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? You don't want 3rd graders to read? Like, I love the interactive Joe Biden, right? Because there was nothing that all the good things he celebrated, they couldn't clap because the Big Daddy Rape-A-Lot said you better not clap.
Right. Yep.
Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. So I was watching it, and I like to write down my takeaways as I'm watching it because I'm curious to see if anything that I think is reflective of what others may think, or if it's completely different. And I found a lot of it was reflective. The first thing is, and I don't know how many people have made this point, but I think it might be time to lose this idea that we or anybody else should be anxious because Joe Biden's speaking. We're afraid that he's going to say something wrong. That guy was in control of that room the entire night. He was daring. I mean, literally daring the Republicans to speak out and act like fucking assholes and do the dumb shit that they normally do. And when they did, he'll look directly at them with absolutely no hesitation, speak right to them because he's not afraid of them. Because first of all, he knows he's in a room full of either dummies or people who are afraid of Donald Trump, and they know they have to go along with this crazy program that he has. That's one of the first takeaways that I came away with, and that his message was direct and clear. Now, was he perfect throughout the whole speech? A couple times in the middle, he was, he got a little bit off, but for the most part, the entire speech was very, very good, very direct. The second thing is Marjorie Taylor Greene's a fucking disgrace to this country. She's a disgrace to Congress. She's a disgrace to this country. She's a disgrace really to the human fucking race. I can't stand this woman. I cannot stand her. She went to that thing as if she was going to a high school. Like she's just like a mean girl in high school. Dressed like a fucking fool. Now, one thing I did not say, I did see somebody say this. It was pretty funny. It looked like she was dressed from KKKIF Fridays, wearing her flare and her, that was pretty funny. But this woman is a disgrace. And anybody that takes her seriously or the party that she's involved with seriously, I don't take seriously. And there's a few things I want to say about that too. The other thing, Republicans, they're in complete disarray. You could tell, and Lana alluded to this a little bit. Mike Johnson looked as uncomfortable and out of place as anybody I've ever seen in the history of me watching these State of the Union addresses. He almost didn't know when to clap. He didn't know when to, he knew when to shake his head. He knew daddy was watching.
J6.
Yep. No. Oh, he's bringing that up.
It didn't happen.
Shucks.
Yeah. Are you saying that this didn't happen?
Yep. And in contrast, the woman sitting next to him, Kamala Harris, looked as confident and where she belonged as anybody else I've ever seen. She looked with confidence. I mean, you can almost tell Mike Johnson was uncomfortable sitting next to her because she was sitting in a place where she felt like she belonged there.
Right.
he absolutely did not belong where he was at.
Right. Because if he clapped at the wrong thing, they're going to vote to have him removed.
Correct.
It's
And
like, I can't even clap for friggin' what was it? Infrastructure. And I love how Joe Biden goes, "Oh, you didn't want the money?"
correct. Well, how about they didn't want to clap for curing cancer?
Yeah, curing cancer, lessening the cost of prescriptions, for capping cost of prescriptions for our seniors. It's just like,
Right.
whoa,
Yeah.
really?
Yep. And the last takeaway that I have from that is because of that, I mean, I think you saw the Republicans' reactions on some of these things are very popular throughout the country. And I think you're going to see a shift here the next week or two in the polls. You're going to see a shift
Right.
in Biden's approval rating. Not that it's going to go through the roof, but any increase 2, 3, 4, 5 points is going to make a huge difference in this election. And I think Joe Biden did everything he needed to get anybody that might have been either on the fence or bought into the right-wing propaganda that he is senile or that he's just letting immigrants in or whatever it is that they believe. I think the people that are not MAGA, it doesn't even matter. I don't care about their opinion, but the ones who are still on the fence, whatever. I think he did a good job of probably winning them over. And I think from this point on, he's going to step on the gas and we're really going to see why there's no other choice here. Not that we didn't know this already, but there are people out there trying to still figure out between the two.
Right. They said it's fundraising. He broke fundraising
Yes.
records at 9, and then at 10 o'clock, they broke that 9 o'clock fundraising goal.
$10 million he raised just in the time between the State of the Union and the next day, I think it was, or it was a couple days, whatever it was. $10 million they raised. And you and I have talked about this. They continue to break records in fundraising, which tells me that you have a large amount of people in this country that are not just excited about voting for Joe Biden, but they are desperate for this guy to win.
Right. And just back to, everyone, just back to his speech. And I think what he did, how we always say that Obama is like the unifier.
Yeah.
He gave us some of that, right?
Yes.
The end of his speech was so uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
It was so like, and I'm not this big, the presidency, United States. Oh my God, I love it so much. Like I'm not, I'm just not. However, listening to that, it did inspire you because he did hear you. He talked about, he tried to hit, everything.
Yep.
Here is, and you mentioned how disgusting Marjorie Taylor Greene is. We can't not talk about how they're using that poor woman that was murdered in Georgia as one of their political pawns. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene has on a t-shirt that says, say her name, which is appropriated from police brutality against Black women. So that alone is like not minimizing what happened to
Laken Riley. Right.
But she's commingling the two, and that's disgusting.
They use it with Ashley Babbitt too, by the way.
Right. That's equally disgusting. It's like you don't care about Laken Riley, and it's baffling to me how Laken Riley's parents are like, keep my kid's name out of your mouth. I don't want anyone to talk about my kid right now.
Oh, no, they're with him and he's signing autographs on her picture and they're smiling, taking pictures with him. It is bizarre.
It's disgusting.
It really is. Yeah. And I am willing to bet anything that I own that if it was a secret conversation and they asked Donald Trump, they'd say, Donald, would you take another Laken Riley story in this country right now to help boost your, ridiculous claim that immigrants are coming in here, which, by the way, is something we're going to touch on here a little bit later. But I truly believe Donald Trump will welcome as many Laken Riley stories as possible right now.
Which is ridiculous because
it's sickening is what it is.
I didn't hear Republicans talk about those, was it 3 or 4 college students that were murdered by the white guy?
No, they
in
won't.
their dorm.
Nope.
That happened, right?
Yep.
Like equally horrific.
No question.
But we're not having a whole big, no one's putting their names on their shirts.
Correct.
Because we can't connect it to anything political. It's like, it's a white guy, shucks. Give us one with an immigrant. Like that's how Republicans are. It's just
but, you know, there's a million different T-shirts that they can print up with, you know, the in-house population, specifically white people that have murdered many people, and there's many T-shirts they can print up, but you notice they only print up the one that they found as an antidote that happened in Atlanta. And obviously it's a tragedy and we don't want any of that stuff to happen. It is just an awful, awful story, but it is not indicative of, you know, what happens with immigrants. And again, that's something I'm going to talk about and touch on in a little bit. But before we do that, Lana, the response to the State of the Union, and I know the jokes and everything has been done at this point, but I was so fascinated by this woman. Fascinated, not in a good way. Fascinated when I literally was watching it. I had to turn it off. I was so uncomfortable watching this Katie Britt
Kitchen
response to, and I even wrote down with her, and it's funny because they actually alluded to it on the Saturday Night Live skit of her, Scarlett Johansson. I don't know if you saw it, but she played her. But I literally wrote down, is this woman doing a response to the Republican debate, or is she playing a character in a Jordan Peele movie? Because that's what it felt like. She was so fucking creepy in that creepy kitchen. And it was so weird. Did you sit through it?
Yeah, the whole thing.
I couldn't. I had to turn it off. I literally got uncomfortable.
I was mesmerized because I was just like, how much more is she going to do of this? Because it was just the way her face kept contorting from how she popped on near tears talking about the border and the rape victim and rape over and over. And then she went to, and Biden's age, he's older. He's been in this politician longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
Like
she had that weird whisper and then the seduction. And then it was just way over the top.
So much.
Well, if anybody didn't see it, I'd be shocked. But here's a quick clip of her. I can only do a quick clip because it's just so weird. But this is Katie Britt doing what many are calling the worst response in the history of the State of the Union.
This is the United States of America. And it is past time, in my opinion, that we start acting like it. President Biden's border policies are a disgrace. This crisis is despicable. And the truth is, it is almost entirely preventable. From fentanyl poisonings.
Fentanyl poisonings. Okay. This is going to piss me off if I don't know what it is. Sometimes my Wi-Fi is not playing the videos correctly, but obviously extremely over the top. Second of all, I told you I'm going to touch on this tonight. I am done. I am over this immigration thing being our number one issue in this country. It's probably not even in the top 10, to be honest with you. It's an issue, yes, but not in the way that they are saying. Again, we'll touch on that. But that was Katie Britt. But the more fascinating thing was she told a little story during her response. And there was a gentleman, a journalist, who actually looked into it and said, this doesn't sound right. Now, there's a clip here of the gentleman. It's 7 minutes long. Obviously, we're not going to play the 7 minutes. But in the first like 20, 30 seconds, this is what he did his investigation on. This is what he's alluding to.
You have no doubt seen this woman on your For You page at various points today. That is Senator Katie Britt, the junior senator from the state of Alabama, who delivered the Republican response to Joe Biden's State of the Union last night. It was weird, but the part that was the weirdest for me, the part that was the most off, was this.
When I took office, I took a different approach. I traveled to the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's where I spoke to a woman who shared her story with me. She had been sex trafficked by the cartels starting at the age of 12.
Okay, so that's the little clip that he's talking about. He did a full research on this, and what an idiot. I did not write down his name, but many people had seen this, and he did the research. And it turns out that Katie Britt was either completely lying, she's an idiot, or she just wanted to mislead the entire country. Number one, she was not sex trafficked by a Mexican cartel. Number two, it did not happen in the United States.
Right.
And number three, it did not happen under Joe Biden's watch.
That's the most important, because she wanted to say this is all Biden's fault.
Happened under George W. Bush's watch, but again, it didn't even happen in the United States, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So the young woman that she was talking about, her name is Carla Jacinto, and she actually responded to Katie Britt's, basically her, if you want to either call it a lie or a mislead, whatever it is you want to call it, she responded to it. And I thought it was important to hear what she had to say about her name being talked about as a political pawn, really.
That to me is not fair.
Trabajo como vocera.
I work as a spokesperson for many victims who have no voice, and I really would like them to be empathetic. All the governors, all the senators to be empathetic with the issue of human trafficking. Because there are millions of girls and boys who disappear all the time. People who are really trafficked and abused, as she mentioned. And I think she should first take into account what really happens before telling a story of that magnitude.
And Erica, Carla Jacinto also told me that Senator Britt got many of the facts of her story wrong. First of all,
okay,
Jacinto
unfortunately, that's kind of screwing up. But he goes on to reiterate what she was saying, and that a lot of the so-called facts of what Katie Britt was saying. And again, that's why what we were just alluding to. This is all fucking theater for these people. They don't care about Lake and Riley. They don't care about that young woman that was raped. Even in that very bizarre response, Katie Britt had challenged Joe Biden, saying, since she's been senator, I've been to the border 3 times. How many parents of Uvalde did she visit? How many parents of the kids who were murdered in movie theaters, churches, schools?
Correct.
Yeah. So, that's why it's impossible to take these people seriously. But the reason why we have to is because this ridiculous message is getting out to people, thinking that this is legitimately the top issue in the United States is the immigration issue. And it's not even in the top 10.
Right. Well, it shouldn't be. Like, stop playing.
And
there's a bill. Biden said sign the bill. Did y'all hear him? He's like, give me the bill. Let's do it.
Well, that proves even more that it's not the issue that they say it is. I mean, if they say it is the most important issue, and then we have something on the table to go ahead and address this issue, then, it's funny too. I saw a video, somebody resurfaced a video of Donald Trump back in 2019 when there was a big immigration, there was like what they call the caravan or whatever it is they call it. A lot of migrants coming into 2019, and he was on TV, sort of not a State of the Union, but he got on TV and asked Congress to pass a bill to help stop this. But of course, there's a lot of people in my comments on this fucking show where they're telling me Joe Biden can just stop this whenever he wants to. All he needs to do is sign a and people don't understand that's not how it works.
Like, what do they want him to do?
Why didn't Trump do it if that's
right? Sign a document and do what? Like,
but to close the border is what they say. He needs to just sign a document and close the border.
My magic wand. Problem fixed.
Yep. Well, that's what it is. And there's too many people thinking that the president has a magic wand. They don't understand how it works. And I think this is part of the problem is we are in a world now where people like you and I, and again, I would admit for myself, Lana, you could speak for yourself as always. Do I know every single detail of every single thing? I do not. But I do feel I know enough to have an intelligent conversation with people about politics, current events, and news and all that stuff. But right now, we are in a world where we've invited a group of people into this conversation that are not in it because politics is the old, boring policy talk. They're in it because it is entertainment now. Politics is entertainment. Politics is WWE. It's Jerry Springer is what it is. And now I've got people who couldn't even spell politics are now talking to me about how things work in this country. And it's extremely frustrating because they have zero clue on what they're talking about, but they're injecting their opinions like we're the stupid ones.
Right. I read somewhere on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, someone had said in response to one of my posts, I don't even know what it was, but something like Biden's going to make China and Russia rich or something.
Right.
What?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's just
think that when Trump is the one who's cozying up to Orban and Putin and China,
well, I mean, literally, I work with people that are just they just don't know any better. They're the ones who tell me that, illegal immigrants come in here and they get free stuff and they don't get tax. I mean, I was like, what are you talking about?
They want to work. Like they literally want to work. And those Midwestern states, they need them to work because maybe if they had some immigrants in Arkansas, they wouldn't have your 12-year-olds freaking putting on roofs and like working in a slaughter factory cutting up cows. Well,
that's a good segue into what I want to talk about now. Let's get this immigration shit out of the way and let's talk about what's really going on with immigration. So I was looking up a few things, and one of the top things about immigration in this country and to the Republicans and why everybody should be concerned and scared is because the rampant crime of the immigrants who cross this border and are raping, killing, whatever it is that they're doing to our citizens. Now, first, it should be noted that under Joe Biden, crime overall significantly has gone down, especially in big cities. So is that Joe Biden because he walked in and who knows? I don't know. But the fact is that crime has gone down since the pandemic, which was rampant during the pandemic. It has gone down since significantly. But the idea is that a lot of the crime being committed in this country is because of illegal immigration. Well, first of all, there's little evidence or data that immigrants, legal or undocumented, cause more crime than people who were born here. There are approximately, they say 11.2 million people who are undocumented. This was in mid 2021. Now, obviously, there's probably more since then, but it doesn't really even out. But there are some that either have died, that have left the country, or became citizens. So let's just say there's 13 million, whatever. There's approximately 3.5 to 4.5% of the population is illegal. Mm-hmm. There, again, strong evidence that all immigrants, documented or undocumented, are more law-abiding citizens than native-born Americans motivated to do well, and low incentive to break the law. There is a couple studies here. Graham Ossie, a criminologist at William and Mary, and Charis Kerbin, the criminologist at the University of California at Irvine, surveyed more than 2 decades of research on immigration and crime. The results vary depending on survey design and scope, but generally they found that longstanding concerns about immigration as a major source of crime are unfounded. In fact, communities with more immigration tend to have less crime, especially violent crimes like homicide. They also found that immigrants are less involved in crime as both offenders and victims compared with the native born, including the children of immigrants. Similarly, the January update of a 2023 survey using a census data led by Ryan Ambaritsky, a Stanford University economist, found that male immigrants over the last 150 years have a lower incarceration rates than people who were born in the United States, and that incarceration rates of immigrants have dropped since 1960. Immigrant men today are 60% less like to be incarcerated, a decline that occurred among immigrants from all regions. This is evidence become, wait, 1 second. Federal prisons records. Wait, no, sorry. No, Orsi and Kerbin from the study earlier in the book say that while there have been only a few studies focused on crimes committed by undocumented immigrants, the findings are consistent with the idea that immigrants do not commit more crimes than non-immigrants. Results from this small but growing literature are beginning to converge on the conclusion that fears about undocumented immigrants driving crime rates are up, essentially unfounded. Lana, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, we didn't even need the study for that because we know Republicans are out here lying. It's not true.
Well, I also want to bring up, there's a gentleman, Norwachis, I can't pronounce his last name. Starting in 2018. Now, this is in regards to Texas, where apparently is the biggest issue. Wrote a series of reports that showed the conviction rates for serious crimes in Texas were much lower for undocumented immigrants than native-born Americans. It published a new report that relied on fresh data on homicide convictions. It confirmed that undocumented immigrants had a lower homicide conviction rate than native-born Americans. Legal immigrants had the lowest homicide conviction rate. So again, this idea that we need to make this our number one issue when it comes to voting,
right,
is ridiculous, because the issue is, first of all, I think you and I would agree that there's a problem with the border, but the problem isn't because people are coming in and they're murdering people and they're just handing out drugs all over the place. The problem is that it's not well handled. I mean, there's a better way to handle.
It's not maintained. It's like there's no order to it. And that takes us back to the bill, right? How in the bill they want to have more border agents. They want more judges. They want to strengthen the rules surrounding asylum, so it's not so easy to get asylum. They want to stop catch and release. Like, there are all these things that will help to strengthen the border. So if you cared about Lakem Riley or the next Lakem Riley, or if you're actually saying, oh, it's all the immigrants, we know it's not true because Brian read all of the data. But if you thought it to be true, why wouldn't you do the minimal? If you thought this bill is like, it's not really going to do anything, why not do the minimal instead of doing the zero?
Right.
Zero. If you could do any little thing, why not?
Right. Why can't, if it's a bad bill, like you said, you could do at least some of it. And if Trump becomes president, then you can have him do whatever it is you think he can do to stop something that's not happening anyway, other than
where there are amendments. They didn't even look at it to say, hey, let's change this, change it. They won't even do that.
Yeah.
How does that, where's the governing? This is no governing. And back to what you said, these people that follow Republicans, the voters, they don't care about governing. They don't understand governing. They just want to argue, fight, win, libtard this, libtard that.
Yep.
I'm on the winning side because I'm a loser in life. Like that's just like how that is.
That's literally what it comes down to, is that, you know, and it's harsh language, but, you know, and, you know, they're losers for whatever reason they became losers, but they don't understand. I mean, it's just the fact that we're talking and we're getting into these conversations with people who have absolutely, I mean, just no basis for what they're saying other than they're being told by right-wing propaganda media all the time that this is the biggest problem. This is what you need to focus on. You know, again, I have somebody at work who thinks that immigrants are coming in here and they're paying no taxes. But she also told me that there's no way that the Republicans are taking away our Social Security when they literally fucking say it out loud that they will.
They think it's what do they call it? It's like something that doesn't have to be given to you. Like I forgot like what the word is that Republicans keep calling it. It's just like
entitlements.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's the entitlements. And, you know, they dress up the language a little bit, but you know what? Some of them actually do say Social Security, because a lot of people don't understand that Social Security, Medicare is an entitlement. They don't understand that. So they hear the word and they just, you know, associate it with freeloaders. You know, it's just, it makes no sense. Meanwhile, the people who really aren't paying their taxes are the multi-billionaires. Those are the people not paying their taxes.
And they're okay with that. They're okay with these people getting tax cuts. And to go back to the border not being the biggest problem, it fucking is not the biggest problem. Like, how do you people go from, oh my God, you're way somewhere, not even near a border state, and you're like, oh my God, the immigrants, the illegals, the border. Right here in America, you have Uvalde happening. You have babies being murdered in classrooms by assault rifles in Tennessee, and you can't even go to a grocery store. In upstate New York, you have people being slaughtered, and the border is the problem, and not the assault rifles.
Lana, there are people in Iowa right now with $100,000 in medical bills that are saying the border is the number one issue.
I said to this guy, I wrote today about I can't even remember. Oh, Donald Trump and his lawsuits and racism, and the guy goes, provide location, who went, like, you know, prove it. And I said, prove that your teeth aren't yellow.
Right.
He goes, he just owned it. I was really surprised. He goes, well, they are. And I'm surprised I have them at 59 and I'm bald and gray, but prove it. Like,
do teeth start falling out at 59?
Exactly. But okay, so my point, they don't care about like the medical. None of that. They don't care. It's like they want the guns and the border. Meanwhile, at 59, you're surprised that you have some teeth. That's wild.
Right. Look.
He called me uppity.
Oh, well, of course he did.
Because I had teeth.
Yeah.
I am uppity.
Now, by the way, this was on Twitter.
Yeah.
Was it another one? I mean, because it seems like everybody on Twitter that wants to argue with me or with you, they have like 30 followers. And I think a lot of these are bots, these weird bots that, you know, you're sitting there talking to something that's a program thing just to respond to.
Yeah, some of them, but some have groups. Some of them, because I know when I'm getting swarmed, like I can tell, because it's like they're just like, let me get in on it, right? And they'll just pop up and say, scumbag. Like they'll just say something stupid.
Yeah,
Let me check my list to see, and I'll check, and I'm on like a libtard list.
Yeah.
Cunts for us list, like just stupidness. But so a lot of bots, but they have groups like we have resistor groups. They have groups to attack our accounts. Like, so if you're a big resistor account, they want to get you suspended. So they swarm you to try to get you to say something so that they can report you too. They're doing what we do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Twitter's a fucking mess altogether anyway. I mean, ever since obviously that moron Elon Musk bought it, like I still on my timeline, I'm sitting there seeing For You, and it's like Megyn Kelly talking to me, and it's like, what the fuck is Megyn Kelly showing up in my shit for? I don't want to hear fucking Megyn Kelly.
Right.
Fuck out of here. All right. So we have determined that immigration is not even in the top 10. So if you're voting based on immigration, I would suggest that you change your stance and maybe look into it a little bit more and find out maybe there's a lot more things going on in your life that are way more important than shit that's not happening. Just like transgender girls and boys sports. Okay. Anecdotally, you can find one or two. Doesn't really happen. Just all this dumb shit that you want to get suckered into that doesn't happen. Again, I probably, if you want, is that what that was?
Yeah, did you see that? And it's funny because I had seen it. It was on the
I saw it come down.
Yeah, it fast, right? It came down like it wanted to attack me.
Along came a spider and sat down beside her.
And it's funny, I saw it like on the ceiling. I was ignoring it. But that joint was like, I'm coming down right. And it's yellow too. That's a weird looking spider. Yikes.
All right. Is he friendly? Is he a libtard?
Maybe MAGA. He's like, attacking.
Might be a MAGA spider. Watch out.
Yo, it's yellow. It's funny. My kids will take spiders outside and put them back outside. I'm like, yo.
Yeah, not that one.
No, this one wanted to attack like that. Yeah. Like he can't. I was watching from way over there. I'm like, yo, Joey's coming closer. Maybe it's the lights. Maybe like that.
Well, if you bite you and you turn into a superhero, maybe that'll be something.
That was funny though. You saw that spider. Like,
I did see him. Another thing I saw.
Not even in Florida.
Did you? Yeah.
Spiders and stuff coming in.
Another thing I did see is, did you watch any of the Biden classified document probe today with Robert Hur speaking? Well, there's a couple of clips I want to play from it because the Democrats did a really good job today, took advantage of not just grilling this guy, but they also did a good job of really railing on a specific person that, again, they did a great job. The first one we're going to play is Eric Swalwell did a phenomenal job of pointing out, because if you remember correctly, in this report, Robert Hur wrote a synopsis or whatever of the report and basically said that Joe Biden didn't do anything wrong, but we really can't prosecute him because people are just going to look at him as an old man who does not have the capacity or the ability to think correctly, in that vein, and it was obviously a pointed effort to make Joe Biden look like he's senile and he doesn't know what he's doing. And of course, the sad part is that got all the news, but what happened today will be page 6, and most people won't hear about it. And part of that too is because you'll hear about it on the CNNs and the MSNBCs, but you heard about the original report on the CNNs, the MSNBCs, the Fox News, the Newsmax, the podcast. You heard it all over the place. The podcasts and the Fox News and the Newsmax, they're not going to play this shit today unless they had one of their jerk offs like Jim Jordan say something that they thought was awesome. Other than that, but this is Eric Swalwell using his time to point out that Joe Biden might not be the one that is in cognitive decline.
In your report, though, is that correct? The word photographic?
That does not appear in my report.
I now want to show you and play a video of what is absolutely not photographic.
In the failing New York Times by
an anonymous, really an ominous, gutless coward.
We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation.
And I watch our police and our firemen down on 7-Eleven, down at the World Trade Center.
And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won.
This is the very definition of totalitarianism. And let me begin by wishing you a beautiful, look, you remember this? Do you remember?
God bless the United States. The windmills are driving them crazy. They're driving the whales.
They're trying to stop it.
And I went to Puerto Rico and I met with the president of
Fantastic. Love that. And more of that should be shown all over the place because
Biden needs to do his ads. I mean, they got I think they just $30 million for ads or something like that. I forgot, I wrote it down, but they're ready. They're coming. It should make us feel really good.
Well, you know what else is it's going to be interesting to see the response ads because it looks like there's a new leader of the RNC, and it is Laura Trump, Eric Trump's wife, who has zero experience in any of this. In fact, this is the same woman who stole from their own children's charity.
Congratulations, Laura.
And now she's in charge of all the money.
Love it.
Me too.
Yeah, love it. And
none of it's
right. Republicans were upset, right?
Well, of course.
Then they drew up some type of motion for whatever, basically saying none of the money is going to be used for Trump. But the motion was never, I don't know what the word is, solidified or whatever. Like it was never heard. It was just drawn up and it went nowhere.
Yeah.
They are going to use that money. She already said it. She lied. What do you think? Trump's just going to have money sitting there and he's not going to use it for his lawyers? Come on.
Well, you know what else they're not going to use it for? A lot of this money, first of all, the RNC money is supposed to go not just to the presidential candidate, but to all the candidates running across the country. And those candidates are being like, what the fuck?
Yes.
What's going on here?
Yeah, get nothing. That's what the fuck. Unless you are totally MAGA, he may toss you a bone.
Yeah.
If you like Carrie Lake, she may get a little something.
Yeah, right. You're going to have some of the top 1% of the MAGA candidates that may get something, but the rest of them, they're in trouble, and especially in a House that is very thin. And in fact, who was the congressman? Who?
Buck.
Yes, Buck is retiring. So now we're getting even thinner in the House. So
it is two.
Yeah.
Two-seat majority right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Eric Swalwell wasn't the only one. Ted Lieu also took the opportunity with some great questioning here of Robert Hur to not only defend the president, but to embarrass the person who 100% should be shamed for the rest of his life.
That there are, quote, material distinctions, end quote, between President Biden's case and Mr. Trump's case. So here's my first question. In your investigation, did you find that President Biden directed his lawyer to lie to the FBI?
We identified no such evidence.
Did you find that President Biden directed his lawyer to destroy classified documents?
No.
Did you find that President Biden directed his personal assistant to move boxes of documents to hide them from the FBI?
No.
Did you find that President Biden directed his personal assistant to delete security camera footage after the FBI asked for that footage?
No.
Did you find that President Biden showed a classified map related to an ongoing military operation to a campaign aide who did not have clearance?
No.
Did you find that President Biden engaged in a conspiracy to obstruct justice?
No.
Did you find that President Biden engaged in a scheme to conceal?
No.
Each of the activities I just laid out describe what Donald Trump did in his willful mishandling of classified information and his criminal efforts to deceive the FBI. In contrast, President Biden handed over documents without delay and complied fully with investigators.
Great job there doing that. Now, side note, just thinking about this, this is where this year could get really, really frustrating. And at the end of the day, I think we all agreed that the way we're going to have to beat Donald Trump, which is fine, and that's the way it should be. But first of all, no, it shouldn't be, because Donald Trump should never, ever be allowed to run for the president of the United States of this country ever again. It is fucking insane that he can. But
how can he even be allowed to get security briefings if he has a trial that's outstanding on whether or not he shared classified documents?
Well, that's the question. And, there is talk about how they're going to handle that. I think they're going to treat him like the child that he is and probably hand him something that means nothing, but make him think that, it does, because he's very simple. He's, and again, make no mistake, this is not anything I'm saying that is shocking or anything that's new, but Donald Trump is a fucking moron. None of it is his idea. None of it comes from his head, doesn't come from his big brain. It doesn't come from anywhere other than people who make him feel like he's the greatest person of all time. And they just shove these ideas in his head. And he's like, sure, let's do it. And, he thinks he's in control, but he's in control of none of this. Absolutely none of it. But they make him think that he is, because it's very easy to trick his small little brain.
Yeah.
Sad. So what I was going to say is, what I'm concerned about is that we may not be seeing any of these trials before the election at this point, other than the one in New York. They can't stop that one. But the classified documents case, which Judge Cannon is in control of, she appears to be doing everything she can to delay this case. And it looks like, the way she's going to do it, I think they're also trying to figure out, okay, when are we going to do the January 6th case? They're waiting first for the documents case to see when they're going to schedule that. And the idea is that they're going to schedule it at a time, and then Donald Trump's team's going to come in and say, hey, we need more time. And Judge Cannon's going to allow that time, which is going to delay the January 6th case even further. Of course, we got the mess that's going on in Atlanta, which should never be happening. And, so there could be a delay in that case after the election, which, this is just par for the course for Donald Trump. Somehow throughout his whole fucking life, this guy has literally fallen forward somehow and just gotten away with his bullshit.
Hold on 1 second.
Yep.
Hi, Kiana. Bye, Mom. Bye, Kiana.
Hi, Kiana.
Love you.
Kiana's not watching. Tell her to get on right now and like and subscribe.
Oh, Pharaoh. Sorry. How you feeling?
Oh.
This is my co-host when you're not around.
Who is this?
Pharaoh.
Hi, Pharaoh.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Did you like and subscribe to the show?
Yeah.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
She's on it.
We talk about Donald Trump all the time.
Aw. Was she in one of your videos before?
Him. Yeah.
Or
yeah,
him, was he? Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Pharaoh.
Enjoy your show. You guys are so intellectual.
I agree. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Family is always more important.
Sometimes my son's running around here talking about Trump 2024.
Now, he better stop that.
Yeah,
he's messing with you, right?
It's not even funny. No, because we've already voted.
Oh, okay.
So,
perfect.
That's done.
Primary. All right, well, not for the general election. So
no, primary.
All right. But anyway, there is a concern that we won't get maybe any of these trials in.
Right.
But there is still a possibility that these trials could be starting before the election, which I think would be important as well.
Right. Hopefully, well, definitely right. The 25th. So, and there's 24 counts with that one that he.
The one coming up?
Yeah.
31. 31.
Yeah, so we just need one. Like it's not gonna.
Might even be 34.
Yeah. I think Biden peeled off some folks. We know he did, right? Because
Yeah.
we saw like post primaries in different states where those people are like, no way am I voting for Donald Trump.
Correct.
Absolutely not. So we saw that. Then we know that he solidified definitely the Democrats after the State of the Union.
Yep.
And he probably peeled off some more.
Yep.
So that's really good. That trial, this Bragg trial, is going to get more independence on Biden's side. Like, he's not going to win anyone. Like, at this point, he's not winning any more people on his side. The only thing that could happen is these goddamn people get on the ballot, right? Those independents, is that still
I mean, it doesn't seem as likely as it did at one point.
right?
I still think there's an RFK Jr. thing, but the idea is that they think that he might peel more Trump voters than he would Biden voters because he's the anti-vax guy. And in fact, this fucking idiot just announced today that possible vice presidential candidates for him would be the cracked out quarterback for the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, who goes onto these shows and does I mean, what are we doing here? This is just so stupid. It's just not, it almost makes somebody like me and maybe you, it's like, do we even want to be involved in this anymore? But we have to be involved. We have to.
I know.
Can't get out of it. Just can't. Final clip on the hearing today was her name is Madeline Dean of Pennsylvania. So she got to the crux of it about how when in that report it came out that Joe Biden couldn't even remember his son's death, the day of his death. Well, it turns out when you read the transcripts, that was an absolute lie. That was not even true, and she calls him out here for that.
And since the transcript is out, to correct the record on an important point. Very sadly, your report on page 208 says that Mr. Biden couldn't come up with the date, the year of his son, Beau Biden's death, when in fact,
damn it,
in the transcript, it shows that you asked him the month. And do you know what he said, Mr. Herr? He said, oh God, May 30th. Would you like to correct the record? His memory was pretty firm on the month and the day.
Congresswoman, I don't believe that's correct with respect to the transcript, but if you could refer me to a specific page, I'd be happy to look.
And my second document, to clarify for you, sir, Mr. Herr, from the transcription, page 82, the words are President Biden's. What month did Beau die? Oh God, May 30th. A searing memory. I ask unanimous consent.
Without objection.
So that was good that she called him out, and again, I think it's good that she calls him out, but I think the problem is that you're only going to see half the people. Half the people are going to actually see this as opposed to almost all the people who saw the original report. But again, the good news is the people who are not going to see it are not voting for Joe Biden anyway.
Correct. Right.
So,
got
something there.
Right. And no one's going to go over to his side anymore. Like, we already know, he's just done. And we're not even taking into account, I keep having to say, the millions of people died of COVID.
Yeah.
Trump killed his supporters.
Yes.
And if he's not gaining any, where are they? Like, he killed a lot of his supporters.
Well,
okay, I didn't say killed. Okay, COVID killed them, but his mishandling.
I mean, you're right. It was a mishandling of it. And, the fact that some of you would have to think that some of the MAGA people, because there were reports and studies that clearly a lot of the majority of the people who were dying were the ones that were more in the red states that were not, where they were anti-vaccine for some very strange, bizarre reason. Sadly, you would think that there would be a lot of family members that'd be a little pissed off about that, but
nope.
There are some that don't give a shit. They're like, well, mom and pop died, but that's okay. We're still voting for Trump.
It was their time.
Yeah, their time.
Were you talking about it? How was I talking to DA? Can you remember how Republicans were literally saying that when it's your time, it's your time to the old people.
Yeah.
Like they had just given up on them.
Who said that? It was one of the congresspeople. I can't remember who it was, but he basically said that. He's like, well, if it's your time, it's your time. That's what happens. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Very strange.
And we wonder why they treat the seniors the way they treat the seniors. It's just, they don't care.
I agree. Please like and subscribe the show if you haven't already.
If you have teeth, like, share, and subscribe.
Say
No,
again?
I'm just kidding. I said if you have teeth, like, share, and subscribe.
Right. And I'm assuming that our audience has more than teeth. They have intelligence.
Just kidding.
So the next thing, did you see the interview with Nancy Mace and George Stephanopoulos?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to play the clip. It's 2 minutes long. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me because it's just so infuriating and so frustrating to listen to Nancy Mace during this whole thing. But I want to play the clip. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through it because for some reason my Wi-Fi doesn't seem to be connecting very well, or I don't know what the hell it is, but it's slowing down my clips. But let's see what we can get through and just kind of take this in, and then I'd like to hear your comments on it.
For it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me
Hold on, I'm going to pause this for a second. Maybe, hopefully, just kind of.
for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape. Just
it was
answer the
not a
question.
criminal.
Okay, so I don't know if I could sit through 2 minutes of that, but so the gist of it is that, he was asking her, how do you justify?
Could I play it? Would it play on the internet if I did that?
I don't know. Try it.
Which one?
It's on so if you look at the bottom.
Oh, right here, I think. This one? Can you see what I'm pointing to? Yeah, I think
I can't.
It.
But
That's
if you,
blue.
yeah, it's so you see your little thing down there.
Yes,
1, 2, 3 to the left. On the bottom.
Yeah. Do I say? Does it add to stage?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then hit play. There might be a little play button you can hit.
Oh, maybe. Oh, here it is. Oh, is it up?
Court. This was
a civil court.
It was a civil.
No, it's just like that.
And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what.
Yeah, it's just.
I don't know why it's doing that, and it's I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But the gist of it was, if you haven't seen it, or if you have, then you can follow along pretty easily. But she was asked, how do you, support a guy that was held liable for sexual assault? Now, I do believe he used the word rape in there, which a lot of people kind of nitpicked. But after the trial was over, a judge basically said that he did essentially rape her, but the way the language was written in the New York law is that they couldn't necessarily say rape, but by the national standards that it could be looked at as rape. And the judge basically said that he raped her. So regardless of that, the point is that he's asking her, how do you defend somebody that was found liable of sexual assault or rape? And she went on to tell her story about how she was raped, which is travesty and tragedy and terrible. But she sounded like, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Lana, but she sounded like she was using that more to defend a position in a very strange way. And then when it also got down to the end of it, she said that, well, E. Jean Carroll joked about how she was going to spend the money, and that, it was a civil trial, wasn't even a criminal trial. So apparently that doesn't count.
Right.
So after watching it, what were your thoughts?
So I did read on someone's social media that they went on to her government platform thing and just to see, what she's all about. Well, what she's not all about is helping assault victims or rape victims is nowhere to be found on any of her information. So if you're wondering why she supports a rapist, because she doesn't care. I mean, I'm not saying her story is a lie, but
she automatically sided basically with Donald Trump, saying that it wasn't a criminal case, that it was a civil case.
It's weird. It's so weird. But then Republicans are really like that. They are weird because I'm pretty sure that there are victims of rape who support Donald Trump because they will either say he didn't do it. Like
Right.
even he admitted to grabbing women by their genitals.
Correct.
He bragged about walking in on teen girls at his pageants, and none of that is disturbing. Like, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you.
He was on the or he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
There's actually, and again, this is it was an accusation that was actually, there's a court where he raped a 13-year-old girl. So we have to take into account that that was possible.
Right. So for you to come on the national stage and be out here talking about your rape, but then in the same breath supporting Donald Trump, the same thing with Katie Britt. You're talking about someone who you said was sex trafficked, which was not true, and who had been raped, but you support a rapist. You support a rapist.
Yeah. I also want to point out in that interview, Nancy Mace's whole problem with the interview is that she said that George Stephanopoulos was shaming her, that she was a rape victim, and how dare him try to shame her about her choices, even though she's a rape victim, that she felt like she was being shamed by the host. And I quite frankly thought it was a very legitimate question, that if you were somebody that was raped, how could you possibly defend somebody that was found liable for rape? Her answer was, A, you're shaming me and this is not right, and I'm going to get out of it this way. The second one answer was, well, he wasn't found guilty in a criminal court. It was just a civil court, and that E. Jean Carroll had joked about it a little bit later. E. Jean Carroll, I'll admit, she seemed a little eccentric, but that doesn't mean that her story is not true.
And it's not just her, right? And she's just one that, filed suit. There were many women.
Correct.
Many. This wasn't just like a one-off or two-off. There was many women who accused Trump of doing these things. So that's weird that you support a man with all of these allegations. Like, at what point because even at some point I had to be like with Bill Cosby, whoa, it's not just one.
Yeah.
It's 2, then 3, then 4. Like, oh hell, something's happening here.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of responses online. There's 2 is that George Stephanopoulos, oh well, he worked for Bill Clinton, so that's very he did work for Bill Clinton. And there was also a lot of comments about what's her name, Tara Reid, who accused Joe Biden. And my only response to that is
that the woman that worked for him and said that he did great work helping set up programs for women of assault?
And then tried to get her to testify against him, but then she fled off to Russia, and she lives in Russia now. But here's the only difference here, and this is a big difference, is that Donald Trump was found liable by a court and a judge and a jury that he raped somebody. Joe Biden and Bill Clinton didn't. Now, again, Bill Clinton's got a little bit of a shady past. There's, something, if somebody told me, hey, he sexually assaulted a woman, I wouldn't argue to the death about it. And I wouldn't, just go nuts and say, you're a liar. And I'd say, yeah, it could be possible. Joe Biden, I don't know about as much about that one. But again, I'm not somebody that does a yes or no. I don't do a definitive unless it feels and it seems,
But they're just saying it to say it, because who is out here saying that he did, other than the woman who also said that he did great work for assault victims in that program. Like,
Yeah.
and then went to Russia. And
Right.
then what did she live somewhere with some people in there? Like, she never paid her rent. Like, this woman was a mess.
She was a mess. There's no question. And people say that about E. Jean Carroll, but when apparently when she was in court, a jury listened to her and they believed her. If Tara Reid decided she wanted to take Joe Biden to court and a jury listened to him and they believed her and he was found liable of rape, I would not have nice things to say about Joe Biden.
Absolutely not.
Yep.
And Democrats wouldn't either. He would be kicked out so fast. Look at Al Franken, and it was a picture. He would be kicked out so fast.
No question. So Steffi, Jesus.
He said it's 9:00.
Yeah, Steffi's like, well, yeah, Jesus. What I was gonna say too is what I wish George Stephanopoulos would have asked her was, if your rapist were running for president and you saw him on TV and you heard a crowd full of people either laughing at you or booing at you, and then also that the media and the press treated that same rapist as just an eccentric presidential candidate, how would you feel? And I would assume, I don't know how she would spin her way out of that one, but I think George's question was certainly legitimate and it should be answered. And she didn't really answer it. She said she did, but I don't know how you make heads or tails of that, especially if you are somebody that were sexually assaulted or raped.
Right. Something was off, but
Yeah.
he did a good job not backing down.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a touchy subject. And it is when you have somebody coming at you and saying, hey, I was raped.
Right.
He acknowledged it and he said, yes, it was terrible. And I agree with you. And but at the same time, answer the question. Like, how do you come to terms with this? And not only did she not answer the question, the way she answered it in a way was just by denying that E. Jean Carroll's ever happened and that she essentially was, just lying about it.
Right.
So, and to me, that's, you talked about being shamed. I mean, you're shaming, a person that is deemed a victim by a court of law.
Right.
So that's that. All right. Last few things. And it really sucks because I got some really good clips here. And we like to end the show on a funny note. I grew up watching the Oscars because I always liked movies. I liked all that shit. I watched it again Sunday night. It wasn't great, but there was a great moment. When Jimmy Kimmel came out, they said they had about a minute to go. I'm going to try to play this clip if you haven't seen it, but there's about he had about an extra minute. So he wanted to read a tweet that was out about him on the show.
I was just, doing this show is not about me, and I appreciate you having me. It's really about you and Emma and all these great actors and actresses and filmmakers. But I was told we have like an extra minute, and I'm really proud of something. I was wondering if I could share it with you. I just got a review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again. Okay, now, see if you can guess which former president just posted that on Truth. Anyone? No? Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still. Isn't it past your jail time?
And the best part about that is Donald Trump is dying to be in that room with those people and them love him.
Yeah, and never more. Oh, he's stuck with MAGAs. He's just stuck with the MAGAs.
And it was great impromptu joke because, of course, he wasn't, well, maybe you probably were expecting Donald Trump to tweet something about Jimmy Kimmel during the Oscars. You know, you probably were prepared for it. So if they were, they had a perfect joke and a comeback for it. And that was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. And one more. This one's worth watching because Seth Meyers did a phenomenal thing he does a thing called A Closer Look on his show. And the first minute and a half or so of his Closer Look last week was very much talked about. I don't know if you saw this or not. If you haven't, it is a treat. Okay. And if you have, it's worth watching again.
Here we are, you guys. Donald Trump is now the presumptive GOP nominee for president again for a third time. Despite the fact that he's a twice impeached, four-time criminal.
Damn it.
Criminal indictee and racist who's been found liable for fraud and sexual abuse, banned from doing business in the state of New York for 3
Damn, I really want to play this because it's about a minute and a half of just him listing shit like this.
I mean, let's go as far as we can.
All right, hold on. Let's see. I'm going to try to pause it for a second. Maybe it's one of those things that needs to download. And all right, hold on.
years, owes over $500 million in fines, took millions from foreign governments while he was president, tried to extort a foreign country to interfere in an election in 2020, and encouraged another to help him win in 2016. Actively undermined the nation's response to a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic and let a deadly disease spiral out of control. It's about to go on trial for breaking campaign finance laws by paying hush money to cover up an affair during the 2016 campaign. Orchestrated a months-long coup attempt that culminated in a violent insurrection to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power and install him as an unelected dictator. Stole classified documents and obstructed attempts to get them back. Has never once won the popular vote and has been routinely rejected by a majority of Americans in election after election. Spews deranged conspiracy theories about everything from climate change to immigration to vaccines to windmills. Glitches on 3-syllable words, 2-syllable words, and 1-syllable words. Cheats at golf. Can't spell his own name, his wife's name, or the words indicted, education, unprecedented, stolen, Denmark, Kentucky, or tap. And is, on top of everything else, the single weirdest and most off-putting human being on the face of the planet. And this is the same planet Ted Cruz lives on, so that's saying something.
That was pretty good.
That was amazing.
Glad we got through it.
I can't stand Ted Cruz. I hope
that's it.
Alfred wins.
That dude's fucked up.
I hope Colin beats him. Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
I do too. I mean, it's just it doesn't look good just from the early polls, but and I don't get it because literally everybody hates Ted Cruz. I mean, I'm talking about Republicans hate him, Democrats hate him, independents hate him. I don't know how he keeps winning.
Right. Is he in a Jerry? Well, no, he's a senator.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't get it.
I don't either. I don't get it. And, and speaking, well, I was going to say something about the polls earlier, but I think just basically looking at all these things that are happening after these the primary polls, that when they're asking people after the polls are over, a lot of them, again, we played this last week. You see a lot of people are basically saying, I'm not voting for this guy. It's just not happening. I did not hear that in prior elections. I didn't hear the anger and the, sort of dismay towards Donald Trump that I do hear on these exit polls in these. So that's encouraging. It's encouraging that Biden is breaking records when he's raising money. There's all kinds of encouraging signs. You and I have talked about this before. I do believe at the end of the day, America comes to their senses and says, all right, we got to vote for this guy. Still a little worried about these progressives who are pissing me off.
Right.
Speaking of, by the way, these talk show hosts, I don't know if you saw Jon Stewart the other night, but he kind of reeled back a little bit of his initial show where he was basically being up on Joe Biden the whole time. And it's he did a great job and it did a great piece last night on, how Republicans think they're more patriotic than everybody. They think that, they do this stuff. And then also got into the dangers of if they take over. And that's, that's why I kind of look at John a little bit now based on his first show. And I'm like, it's kind of hard to take this serious now. After you said that, it kind of bothers me that, he said that, and maybe he walks it back. Maybe he just goes on and hopes, it doesn't come up again. I don't know what the thing is. And I'm sure he meant what he said, but it's just kind of, I don't know. This is just not time. I don't know. I same thing with the progressives. I just don't understand where they think that this is the time to make your stand. Let's win this fucking game right now, and then do all the Biden bashing you want.
Right, but he's getting bashed for something he can't control. So that's even the worst. And I thought I read somewhere that there was some type of tentative peace talk.
There is. I mean, and they're doing everything they can. I will, just from what I've gathered, and this is coming from people who I respect, that I listen to, that some of them are even saying that, Joe Biden's inaction here does make him look a little weak in this, in this whole thing. And, maybe not. You've alluded to a lot of times, and that Joe Biden could be working behind the scenes. And they even brought that up, but they were like, well, when are we going to do something? What are, because we're basically letting
in action, stop giving them weapons. Like, are we giving them weapons right now? Like, I don't know what.
Well, they're still giving them aid. They're still So, and they're giving them weapons and aid. So, it's, and through financial aid.
Real aid? Like, what happens then?
If what?
No, I said, can we stop giving Israel?
Well, that's basically what it comes down to. If they stop giving them the financial aid, then it's pretty much over for them. Now, from my understanding, Benjamin Netanyahu is going to do whatever the fuck he wants, no matter what, and he's going to handle it his way. And it's such a difficult and complex situation that they're still hostages. Jewish hostages. There's all these people that they want to get back. This Hamas, they're not like they're not like an army. Obviously, they're people who live amongst the citizens there. So, what do you do? It's just such a complex thing. It is, and it sucks.
Even if you agree to a ceasefire, because I think they were saying this kind of happened before. Like one side would stop, and then the other side would pick up their arms.
Well, and that's the problem is they have that fear, is that there's a ceasefire, and next thing you know, Hamas comes in, does another, just this. I don't know. And again, I'm not the person to be talking about, to be honest. I don't know a whole bunch about it. There's things that I do know. One thing, any innocent human life being taken for just ridiculous reasons or no reason whatsoever is terrible. And, this idea that Joe Biden should wave his magic wand and solve all this is, to me, absurd. I know there are things that we can do on our end. Is it the right thing? Is it not the right? I'm sure any progressive watching this would be, you support genocide. Yes, I don't. I mean,
like, who supports genocide? I wish they would stop saying that. That is just
the
most ridiculous fucking thing on the planet. Like, should we say that if you're not out here protesting about the kids that were murdered in Uvalde? Like,
correct.
You support the genocide of young kids, and that's
there's a grievance no matter what, especially with progressives. Let's say Joe Biden does exactly what he wants him to do. It's just going to go to another subject so they can go on Twitter and TikTok and complain and act like they know more than everybody. And I'm not trying to diminish their message, and I'm not trying to diminish, what they're trying to do. But as I've said a million times, the progressive movement is done if Donald Trump wins. If Donald Trump wins, the progressive movement has no more progress. The progress is done because you are now going to have a stacked Supreme Court for the rest of your fucking lives because you decided you were going to take a stand on this one issue that has nothing to do with the United States. Well, I shouldn't say nothing, because there are Muslim Americans that live here. There are people here that it does affect, but for the overall, what's going on here in this country, I can't discount that because of what's going on over there. I just can't. I'm sorry.
No, and no reason to be sorry, because that's a great point. The progressive movement, your movement ends with a Donald Trump presidency. You're absolutely right. There's no more movement.
Yeah.
Climate justice. The fuck you think that he's gonna give the red light to pollutants up and down? There's not going to be any regulations. You're not going to have any birth control. They want to raise the age of voting. Like, you may not even be able to vote the following year if you're like 15 now. They
Right.
put that to 21.
Right.
They're taking your rights away too.
Yeah, it's crazy. The word progress is a derivative of progressive.
Yeah.
And then they're not interested in progress. They're interested in getting to the fucking finish line, however they think. And I don't know how they think they're going to get there. But there's only one way. There's one path to getting to what you want. And I'm all for the progressive movement. One, at some point, as I get older and, this country is going to be more and more for the younger people, and they're going to have to live in this country for a lot longer than I'm going to have to live in it. And I understand that. And I am fine with a movement that they feel comfortable with in this country as time goes on. But again, I'm not sure what the play is here. I'm not sure if they're thinking correctly. And I think their heart's in the right place, but I'm not sure their head is.
No, it's not, because they think they're going to punish Biden and, keep saying Biden doesn't get punished with you not voting for him. Biden will go home with Jill if he's not the president, and then they will live the rest of their lives out in comfort.
No, maybe not. They could be jailed.
Well, they could be, but they won't.
Yeah. Well, just like I said last week too, the spoiler alert, the progressives are talking their shit now. They will vote for Joe Biden. I promise.
Yeah. Like, Snacker, you don't have a choice. You really want Donald Trump, the dictator?
Yeah.
Well, Donald Trump wants to release prisoners, the insurrectionists that he keeps calling hostages.
That is insane. And by the way, one last clip here. This is Donald Trump talking about fucking Viktor Orban. Listen, listen to this.
That's better, smarter, or a better leader than Viktor Orban. He's fantastic.
Anyway, he's at Mar-a-Lago.
And does a great job. He's a non-controversial figure because he said this is the way it's going to be, and that's the end of it, right? He's the boss. And he's a great leader, fantastic leader in Europe and all over the world.
All over the world respected, he says. He says that he just does what he wants, and that's why he's non-controversial. Viktor Orban's another one of these far-right nutbags who think everything should be, run by the Bible. They, that the press and, journalists should be suppressed over there. He cheats in elections, literally cheats. And that's exactly the kind of country that Donald Trump wants. And sadly, there are a bunch of people here in this country. In fact, Jon Stewart played it on the show a little bit the other night, some interviews of people and asking, would you be happy with a Trump dictatorship? And they were saying, if he says that we need a dictatorship, then that's what,
we must need it. If he said we need to be flogged, we must need to be flogged.
And they have no idea. They just don't know what's coming. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
And again, all these people being interviewed, not one of them talked politics before Trump. Not one.
Right.
Fuckers. All right. Lana. Yeah. What do you think? Anything else sad?
Nah.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell people where to find you.
Yeah. Find me Thursday, 8 p.m. live. The Quest Show. I'll be there.
Keep the streak alive. We were afraid that she wasn't, but she snuck in a pre-recorded show.
I did. I really did. I edited and everything.
Look at you.
There we go. Pew, pew, pew.
Wait, you're able to edit the so if you pre-record it, you can edit shit out?
Yes. And it's funny, I did pre-record in StreamYard. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, and then I just edit it in StreamYard.
I think I saw that, and I'll have to go back and look because I think I tried that before and I couldn't figure it out.
But sometimes, like, I used to edit in like photo booth, like or garage, whatever iMovie.
Yeah.
Macs have iMovie, and you can edit there.
Gotcha.
But
All right. Well, Lana's streak is alive, and you could see the Quest show 8:00 on Thursday night. I know I'll be there. And anybody that is watching this show, please, if you can like and subscribe, we would definitely
how many
appreciate it.
we got? Subscribers? What we up to?
I think it was, well, I don't know what this algorithm thing is very strange because literally every week I was seeing some clips that were getting over 2,000 views in a week.
Subscribers. What do we have for subscribers?
So we were piling up subscribers during that time too. And then all of a sudden, these last 2 weeks, everything just stopped. Stopped. I don't know what's going on. So we're at 215. And hopefully anybody watching this show tonight, we can get some more subscribers, but we need this. We need people liking it because the algorithm, that definitely helps. So if you don't mind, I am not afraid to ask. I have no problem asking. So if you don't mind, we would love for you to like and subscribe to the show. And, let's get this thing going a little bit more.
Yeah.
And like and subscribe to the Quest show as well.
Yes. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right. Well, I want to thank Lana. I want to thank her family for joining us as well. I want to thank the spider that joined us.
I know, the spider came and sat down beside her.
Yeah, the spider came down, sat down beside her. My dog made an appearance in a way.
Yeah, I know.
All kinds of crazy shit going on. So, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and we will see you again. You'll see Lana on Thursday night or Thursday night, and you'll see us again next Tuesday at 8:00. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, we should have an answer by the judge for Fani.
Yes, hopefully. And by the way, Joe Biden, from what I last saw before we get off, was running away. He had over 90% to win. What state was it tonight?
Oh yeah, he did. He's done. He got it.
Yeah, he is officially the
Georgia did it. Georgia put him over. Yeah,
Georgia. That's right. It was Georgia. And from what I saw, it was early. And I don't know.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to look it up real quick since we're on. Trump was only at 66% in Georgia. All right. So Biden right now is at 92. Trump's at 70.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have 30% of people in Georgia, basically uncontested at this point, still voting for either Nikki Haley or whoever around there. That's very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Even though apparently he's up like 7 points in Georgia, which is shockingly upsetting. Trump. Really? Even though he's won Georgia, or Biden's won Georgia, or no, he won Georgia in 2020.
Right.
Hillary didn't win Georgia. So he did win. Yeah. Yep. So we'll see. But it's good numbers tonight.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure Lana will have more to say about it on Thursday night. Maybe she won't. Who knows?
Nope.
Nothing.
I'll surprise you.
She'll surprise us. All right. Well, good night, everybody. Go Celtics.
Good night. Yeah, right. Bye-bye. Bye.